The biting wind whipped off the churning waters of a Michigan lake, carrying with it a chilling secret. Beneath the surface, in the cold embrace of the depths, lay a tragic story of violence, fear, and a devastating betrayal of trust. It's a story that begins in the warmth of friendship, a card game on a seemingly ordinary night, and quickly descends into a nightmare of abduction, assault, and ultimately, a brutal act of calculated murder. This is the story of Rachel Timmerman, a 19-year-old whose life was tragically cut short, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a community grappling with the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of the most idyllic settings. Rachel Timmerman was, by all accounts, a young woman brimming with life. Just 19 years old, she was at the cusp of adulthood, with the world stretching before her, full of possibilities. While details about her personality and aspirations are scarce, the bare facts of her story paint a picture of a young woman who likely enjoyed the simple pleasures of life. She was, after all, attending a card party, a social gathering that was, in the context of her life, a typical and unremarkable event. It was an evening like any other, until it wasn't. Until the shadows began to lengthen and the familiar turned treacherous. Until the evening's innocent amusements took a dark turn that would end her life. The rural landscape surrounding the lake, typically serene and offering a sense of peace, was transformed into a sinister backdrop for unimaginable horror. The woods that bordered the water, dense with the scent of pine and damp earth, became a place of profound terror. This particular region of Michigan, known for its stark beauty and quiet solitude, often lulled its residents into a sense of security, a false sense of immunity from the darker currents of human nature. The details of that fateful night are scarce, a void in the narrative that only amplifies the horror that would follow. We know she attended a card party, a gathering of friends, perhaps family, where laughter and camaraderie filled the air. The exact location of this gathering is not widely publicized, adding to the shroud of mystery surrounding the initial events. But as the night wore on, as the laughter faded and the hours grew late, Rachel found herself in a situation that would forever alter the course of her life. She was kidnapped, taken from the supposed safety of her surroundings, snatched away into the darkness by someone who would commit unspeakable acts. The perpetrator, a figure shrouded in depravity, emerged from the shadows with calculated malice. He was not a stranger, but someone known to Rachel or her social circle, making the betrayal all the more profound. She was driven to a secluded location in the woods, the rustling leaves and snapping twigs underfoot amplifying her terror. There, she was subjected to a brutal sexual assault. The violation of her body and innocence would be a wound that would never fully heal, a scar etched deeply into her very being. But Rachel was a survivor. She found a way to escape, to break free from her captor's clutches and fight for her life. The details of her escape are not fully documented, adding another layer of chilling uncertainty to the narrative. Perhaps it was a moment of unexpected opportunity, a lapse in her captor's vigilance, or sheer, unadulterated will to live. It is clear that she possessed a strength and resilience that belied her youth. She must have fought with every ounce of her being, driven by a primal instinct to live, to escape the clutches of her assailant. Her flight through the darkened woods, her breath ragged, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs, must have been an ordeal of unimaginable terror. However, her ordeal was far from over. In a twist of fate that defies logic and justice, Rachel, after escaping the clutches of her attacker, ended up in jail. The reasons for this are unknown, adding another layer of confusion and frustration to an already tragic case. Was she picked up by authorities who didn't fully understand her situation? Was she seeking help from the wrong people? Or was she caught in a systemic failure that placed blame where it didn't belong? Was she wrongly accused? Or did she get caught up in a series of events beyond her control? Was the system failing her, a young woman who had already endured unimaginable trauma? These are questions that haunt the case and highlight the devastating consequences of a system that failed to protect the most vulnerable at their most desperate hour. The juxtaposition of her desperate escape and subsequent incarceration is a stark and heartbreaking indictment of the circumstances that can surround victims. Upon her release, Rachel, once again, found herself in the crosshairs of her tormentor. The man who had committed these vile acts against her was not content to let her go. This time, his intentions were far more sinister. He abducted her again, his pursuit relentless, his predatory nature unchecked. He took her to a desolate location by the lake, a place now synonymous with her demise. The final, brutal act, the detail that seals this case in the annals of true crime horror. The rapist, now a murderer, tied cinder blocks to her body, their cold weight a grim premonition of her fate. Then, with chilling calculation, he submerged her in the cold, unforgiving water. It was a calculated act of brutality, a finality meant to erase all traces of Rachel Timmerman, to silence her forever and bury his monstrous secret in the silent depths. The lake, once a source of beauty and recreation for the community, became a tomb. The discovery of Rachel's body was a devastating blow to the tight-knit community, a place where everyone knew each other, and such violence felt utterly alien. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of police activity, cordoned-off areas, and a palpable fear that settled over the region like a shroud. Investigators worked tirelessly, piecing together fragmented clues, the weight of public expectation pressing down on them. The murder of Rachel Timmerman has had a lasting impact. It's a haunting tale that resonates with a deep sense of injustice, a wound that has never truly healed for those who knew her and for the wider community. It forces us to confront the unsettling reality of violence against women, the vulnerability of those who are targeted, and the potential failures of the very institutions designed to protect them. The case highlights the need for a justice system that prioritizes the safety and well-being of victims, ensuring they are protected from further harm, especially when they have already escaped a terrifying ordeal. The circumstances of her arrest and the subsequent acts of her killer are a devastating indictment of the flaws that can exist within the systems designed to protect the most vulnerable, a chilling reminder that sometimes those meant to help can inadvertently cause more harm. The emotional toll on Rachel's family and friends was immense, a gaping void left in their lives. The unanswered questions and the sheer brutality of her end left them grappling with grief, anger, and a profound sense of helplessness. The community, too, felt the sting of this tragedy, a shared sense of vulnerability and sorrow. The finality of the case is its greatest tragedy. We see the tragic demise of a young woman, her potential extinguished, her future stolen. Her life, barely begun, was extinguished by violence and malevolence. She was robbed of the future she deserved, a future filled with the joys of family, love, and the simple experiences of life that are the birthright of every young person. The man who committed these horrible acts, a nameless figure in many tellings of the story, his identity forever stained with the blood of Rachel Timmerman. The case forces us to grapple with the nature of evil, the dark potential that exists within human nature, the capacity for such profound cruelty. It reminds us that we must remain vigilant, always aware of the shadows that can conceal such darkness. We must fight for justice and safety for all, and we must never forget the victims of such heinous crimes. The pain caused by Rachel's death echoes throughout her community, a palpable sense of loss and sorrow. It echoes in the hearts of those who knew her, in the lives of her family and friends, who were left to piece together the fragments of a life brutally ended. It is a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of fighting for a world where such tragedies are not repeated. The memory of Rachel Timmerman serves as a somber testament to the enduring fight for justice and the critical need for a society that truly protects its most vulnerable.